This program is brought to you by thepodcastfactory.com.
Welcome back, boys and girls, to another edition of Death, Glory, or Disappointment with the bearded legend himself, Mr. Dan Meredith.
How are you, sir?
I'm doing awesome. Dude, I got to tell you, I kind of missed you, and I'm glad that we're back on again, because I do need my dose of Dan each week.
Well, we've got an interesting dose that we're going to be putting in your ears today, and this was inspired by... Again, mutual friend, seemed to come up with a lot of similar things with this, is our friend Mr. Ben Settle. So I subscribed to, Ben was one of my early mentors, and he's I class him as a good friend now. You two are good friends, obviously have your show together as well.
Yeah.
So Ben gave us all a book a couple of months ago, and I have obviously recently moved, but I still get all my my magazines and my little Dan treats sent to my family home. So I try and see my folks, every month or two, but I hadn't seen them for a little while. They came up, my dad came up to see me, took him out on the pier, ended up playing him at air hockey, Rambo. It was a fucking great day. Like, literally kicked his ass. It was fantastic. But being kids all day. But, when dad had left, like I said, I am a very excitable individual. Always open Ben and Doberman Dan's first, like my favourite things. I had a book, and it's called Persuasion Secrets of the World's Most Charismatic and Influential Villains. And it was 10 lessons, and I fucking loved it. It's a perfect book to read. It took me about an hour and a bit to read. Really, Ben's style's very easy to read anyway, but it was awesome. Now, most people think, I actually talked about this, and it was, I have this hashtag I jokingly have called hashtag Be More Dan. It's basically like, just do more shit, basically. But I had this idea of hashtag Be More Villain after this, and it was, I love my Marvel films. I don't know if you're a fan of the DC or the Marvel kind of films or comics at all, but I'm a huge kind of superhero film fanboy. Now, the heroes, everyone loves. But I was on a whimsical, I just kind of wrote some notes down the other day. I was on this journey, I was thinking, one of my favorite characters ever is the Joker. The Joker is the ultimate I don't give a fuck person. Like in the film, I think it was The Dark Knight Returns, I can't remember. So one of the trilogy, he just basically takes all the villain's cash that he got and he just burns it. Doesn't give a shit. Billions of dollars, just tortures it. Just because he wants to set everything back to zero, likes anarchy, doesn't care. And I kind of always like the Joker because he generally doesn't care. I mean, he's nuts. Probably why I identify with him. But I came up with, this is me just being a dork, 6 key areas that you should maybe, if you're interested in being a bit more villain and how it can improve your life. You don't have to be a naughty little bastard, but just how they approach what they do. When I actually looked into it, and I actually fully geeked out on this and went, started reading all my comics and all sorts of things. This shit makes sense, man.
All right. Looking forward to it.
So the first thing from hashtag Be More Villain is reactive versus proactive. So think about all the superheroes, yeah. So you've got Superman, you've got Batman, you've got Iron Man, Captain America. What do these guys do?
Fight crime.
What do they always do? They fight crime. So they don't actually, there's no plan for them. But what do the villains have? The villains have always got a master plan. They're always looking to take over this, fucking open a portal to a different world, enslave the human race, destroy the universe, standard villain stuff. But they have a plan. They actually have an idea of what they're doing, and they have a goal. They're not just blindly thrashing away at doing stuff. The superheroes are always trying to thwart the villain's plans. Never the other way around. So they have a plan.
Interesting.
Simple, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I'm going to come out with these 6 fairly quickly, and then we're just going to talk around, what we can learn from, let's just say, the naughtier elements. So that was number 1. Number 2, they're adaptive. Okay, so the villains, they've got their plans. They've got their, their kryptonite that they're going to turn into a rocket that they're going to fire at Superman's face. And then they're going to go and take over Metropolis. Whatever they fancy doing that afternoon. So they've got their plan, but then, like as always happens, a superhero of some fashion starts fucking it up. Now, have you seen any of the recent Batman v Superman films? You seen those?
I saw. Is there more than one? I saw one.
Oh, the recent one. Yeah, so the recent one. So Lex Luthor obviously is tries to create this demonic beast from another dimension. Yet he keeps getting, thwarted or held back by Batman and a few other things. Did he stop?
Never.
No. He adapts. So, second point, adapting. Life is never going to be perfect. Never going to be perfect. So this is what I was saying before in one of the other episodes about planning and structure. Having a goal, fantastic. Having plans, awesome. Seriously, Jonathan, like genuinely, in business, we've both got, multiple businesses between us. When was the last time you planned something and honestly it went to plan? Exactly.
Well, I wish things would go the way I plan them, but they never do.
So this is what, like, for example, when I used to do some coaching in the fitness space, and I still do this now, people would say, I don't need any coaching, I just need a plan. Just give me a plan. Now, I remember going to the bank to get a loan for £10,000 when I wanted to open my fitness business. I had to jump through so many fucking hoops to create a business plan. Seriously, any of our friends, do we know anyone who has a business plan?
Oh, man, I don't know.
But I don't know anyone, and do you know what? I don't see any validity in it, because you know what? I planned that. I really went to town on it. I really put a lot of effort into it. I really made, the numbers work, and it was just, I did high, low, medium, growth. I did everything to be turned down. But if I'd have stuck to that plan to the T, I'd still be stuck there now, Jonathan. So another thing is, whatever life throws at you, if you're rigid, it's not going to work. You've got to be able to, adapt and change the circumstances that are in hand. So let's just say, say iTunes tomorrow, shut down. Okay? You're across, obviously, multiple platforms, aren't you, with your podcasters?
Yeah, and as soon as they shut down, we're going back to CDs in the mail.
Exactly. So that's it. We've got, if Facebook suddenly stopped groups, okay, cool. Bit of a fucker. Let's get you all on a forum. So you've got to be able to adapt to situations as well. Okay. This one.
You've actually, you taught me a lot about that, because I was very rigid in the way I did podcasting, but I wanted to work with you so much that I had to change some things, and it actually improved my business. You had to make
it fucking dumbass simple. It's like, right, Dad, I will call you, you talk, and then you go away.
Done, okay,
right?
Jonathan. Yeah, but I want to thank you for that.
Mate, I've opened up a whole new world of entrepreneurs who are basically too useless to learn any more new skills because their heads are so full of stuff anyway. And you just go, can you be here and call me at this time? Yes. Good. But that's it, adapting. I've done that with my groups, with my coaching, with my training. If I was doing what I'd planned to say, my supplement business, if I hadn't adapted that, changed to fit certain, legislations and certain things and things we can and can't do because obviously, ethical, then I'd be fucked by now. Things happen. If Facebook said, got a lot of friends who do advertising on Facebook, if they said you can no longer do videos or images or whatever, you can piss and moan, I ain't going to do nothing. So you got to adapt. Like, seriously, adapting, big villain thing, they don't give up. Which leads me on to villain, #BeMoreVillain, point number 3, which is tenacity. Now, I'm not a comic book nerd. I just love the films. They're good escapism. I've talked a lot about how I use films to kind of, just get out of my own way, yeah? I love these films. But think about, for those of you who are not comic nerds, just bear with me. But, did you have comics when you were a kid, Jonathan?
I had some comics when I was in middle school, in particular, Batman.
Okay, so Batman and the Joker. How many times have they fought?
They never stop.
Hundreds. So it's like Tenacity, like, even though, okay, so let's say the Joker, in that he's trying to do all manner of terrible things to, Batman, to Gotham City, to the but he never stops. He gets locked away, he gets, put in an asylum, he gets, completely taken out of action over and over and over and over again. Yet he keeps coming back. Like, there's a lot to be said for Tenacity. And I think it's something that, just applying it to our world today, people give up too easy, mate. We said this about the social media thing. They'll try it for a couple of weeks, didn't work. They'll do 4 podcasts with you. Oh, Jonathan, I didn't suddenly make £1 million. Doesn't work. Dickhead. You don't get it. I mean, you don't obviously have people like that because you filter those idiots out, but we've obviously helped people who haven't got that from it.
I've got
not giving. I mean,
on this, Dan.
Go for it. Yeah, interrupt me whenever.
How old are
my
you?
Notes.
You're
36, mate.
Okay, so you're not exactly a millennial, but I think it has something to do with this entitlement generation. Like, if shit doesn't happen right this second, I deserve it. Where's my shit? And I think that
Give me my shit. No, that's right, mate. There's a lot of entitlement, and I've seen this, and with some of my other sort of successful friends. Again, it's way less negative than positive. But there are people who are like, "Oh, it's easy for you. You had the breaks." I've had that people leveled at me, and I'm like, okay. So our friend Ryan gave me a big break, put me in a room with pretty much the influencers in our world. But I flew to Ryan for the first time. I put myself $10,000 in debt, which I didn't have. I completely blagged it, put it on a credit card. No idea where I was going to get the money. I'd actually completely busted my coccyx. I couldn't sit or stand. So I had to sit at an 8-hour flight in agony, genuine agony, to go and stand in a room in Florida for 2 days. And that's where I met Ben and Andre and a few other of our mutual friends as well. Why? Because I made the effort. But then I kept following up. I kept going to events. I flew to America 14 times that year. It broke me. But I kept going because I thought that, something good will come. I'm just going to keep going. You get a knockback. Okay, no worries. Let's rethink. Let's go at it again. Tenacity is a hugely admirable quality. My mentor, took me 6 months to crack him, of continuously, messaging, following up, being present, being there. It's not as hard as people think, but I mean, look at the people you've got in your network. You didn't get those straight away, did you?
Oh my God.
You got one, and you messaged, and you followed up, and you've done it with me and others. You are tenacious. You don't give up. Neither do I. People do that with their clients. There's the old adage of I think there's only like 3% of people are ready to buy from you now, which is why retargeting and following up and email campaigns and all that kind of, businessy stuff is so important. But people don't follow up. People aren't tenacious. They just give up. Too easy. And it sucks balls, as far as I'm concerned, Jonathan. Sucks big ass donkey balls.
Well, wait a second. Now, we could look at the other side and say it's great for those of us that keep showing up, because those other fuckers will fail and die and whine and maybe be employees somewhere and get out of your way.
That's a very good point. This is why I liked you, Jonathan, because you're damn sight smarter than me. But you're right. This is I'm doing a training tonight. Now, I'm basically teaching people pretty much how I've done everything I've done in Coffee with Dan and Espresso, yeah? So I'm basically kind of opening the kimono, showing them the goods. Now, a couple of people said to me, do you think that's wise? Is that sensible? And I'm like, okay, we'll get 300-400 people on the call. 3 or 5 people will run with it. Yeah. And honestly, maybe one of those will make it kind of big in 2 or 3 years' time. Where do you think I'm going to be in 2 or 3? I'm going to be like 2 or 3 years ahead of them. It doesn't matter.
Right, years ahead, right.
Exactly. But, I spoke obviously we've got the other podcast I have as well with Jamie. We're like internationally known for doing that now. But all we did, me and Jamie were talking about this and why it's worked so well, because obviously I've been, obviously bar the little break, continuous with you. I'm always on Facebook, same with Jamie on his social media and Snapchat. Jamie made like 10 grand off Snapchat the other day.
Wow.
Because he consistently does like 30, 40 snaps a day.
Wow.
People like know to check in there. So that tenacity, that kind of stick with it ability is huge. Just because something doesn't work straight away, and obviously you have to be a little bit sensible, because sometimes you're just flogging a dead horse and your idea is shit. So there's that delicate. Sometimes you just got a shit idea and you have to scrap it. I've had plenty. It's good. It shows you're actually moving forward closer to the right one. But giving up so easy is just, I find that unappealing in people. Like, one of the shit tests I run people through who are working with me is I'll give them an opportunity to join the team on like a trial basis. I'll deliberately read and ignore messages. I'll deliberately set up calls and change them at the last minute. Why? Because that's what my life is like. And if they, for example, I've recently hired a little while ago a project manager for the team. Her job is to chase me to do stuff. And to the point where she used so many different mediums, because again, this is like when I spoke to Ryan and how he hired his assistants and people for the roles. You kind of, some of the tests you do for them, you don't know they're a test until you pass them. My mentor did the same with me, the tenacious thing. I had to, he didn't want me to give up. He said, why would I invest my time in someone who quits after the first knockback? I mean, for fuck's sake, look at the state of me, Jonathan. I would never get any ass if I gave up on the first note. That sounded really dodgy, and I didn't mean that in a kind of forcibly mischievous way, but sometimes, I've dated some absolutely beautiful women in my past just because I just kept asking, just cheekily, just kept chipping away. There's a lot to be said for tenacity, mate. So that's number 3. Guess what number 4 is? See if you can guess number 4.
Oh, man.
Be more villain. Go on. Hashtag be more villain. Go on. Do you know what? Okay. You can come up with, I'm going to come, but you know what? I'm going to do 4 or 5, and I want one for you for 6. So,
oh, no.
Number 4, I'm going to put you on the spot now. So number 4 is passion. Okay. Like I said, thinking about the villains in these films, yeah? They really, okay, a lot of them are fucking mental. They're nuts. But they are completely passionate about what they're doing. So, I'm not going to go too personal here, but we've both achieved things in our lives. Obviously, you've had, some new additions to your family. I've had some things change in my life. I was passionate about wanting that to happen. There's a reason that I'm able to do the things I'm doing. So my big goal, the big one, the kind of, the non-altruistic one, is everything just fucking covered in diamonds. Just because. Just a blingy, horrible human being. But the altruistic one is I want to have a range of care homes and investments in, in property and in people who have, difficulties like my sister does, and I want to be able to provide them a safe space where they can live their lives as adults. That's something that I've wanted to do for a long time. I'm passionate about it. These fuckers in these films, they are passionate about blowing up a universe, about, turning Superman inside out. Whatever mad shit they want to do, it propels them. And passion, again, this is just these little things I noticed from the film. They're so driven by it. There's Age of Ultron. The guy realized that the human race was like a cancer, and his passion was to just eradicate it. He just wanted them gone, just going to remove the humans. Start from zero. Yeah, crazy, and a robot, and obviously not real. But to achieve something great, to achieve a level of notoriety or success, or to help a lot of people, generate a lot of money, whatever your thing is, you've got to be passionate about it. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, that's actually what makes the persistence part work, because if you don't have that passion behind it, you're not going to be able to get up after Batman kicks your ass or Superman pounds you into the ground and go back at it.
See, so passion again. Now, I'm not going to confuse this with turn your passion into a profit.
No, it's more like grit. Yeah,
it's passionate about what you're doing. Just because you love, I don't know, cats. Say you like cats, right, and you love making hats for cats. Don't ask me where that's come from.
No,
Fuck it, let's go with it.
Out of cats.
There is actually a book I saw the other day, which is true story, not making this up, how to create figurines from cat hair. True.
Ooh, good grief, really?
Seriously. Fucking how niche is that? Just what I'm saying, there's a niche for everything, Jonathan. But just because, say, you love creating these little silly hats to put on your cat, yeah, doesn't mean that you should do it. Just because you're passionate about cooking, you're passionate about, I don't know, the British seaside, doesn't mean that that should be something that turned into a business. And I'm just picking random things that I'm basically looking out my window as I'm saying it. But understanding the difference between having a passion, you know, I said in my book, my passions are pizza, memes, cartoons, and sex. No one is going to pay me to do that. No one. Just I'm passionate about it doesn't mean I should profit from it. But if I have a intense burning passion to make Coffee with Dan the best group for entrepreneurs on Facebook. Obviously powered by the kind of big goals and the big vision, but that is a true passion of mine. Something that keeps me going. I love doing. I enjoy serving these people. I like making them happy. I like them to have a difference. I'm passionate about it, which is why when I do have shitty things happen to me, you know, we all have bills and stresses and stuff and all kinds of stuff that just fucking kick us in the teeth. It's that passion about wanting to do what I'm doing that's going to keep me going. And the final #BeMoreVillain thought is they don't ask for permission. When did you I know this is probably quite obvious, to be fair, but think of all the villains in those films, yeah? Is there any point where they try to reach a peace accord or try to negotiate a deal or speak to the government to try and find a happy medium?
Not quite.
No. They just went out there and they fucking did it. They just said, I'm going to do that thing. Bollocks to you, I'm doing it. And the asking for permission thing was the biggest problem I'd had up until probably, maybe even in just this year. So even till, you know, a year ago I was doing well, but I was still relying on others to say, you know, for certain things, yes, Dan, it's okay, you can do that. And my mentor is a wonderful human, he's extremely busy as well. And I always want to, you know, I like this, we said this before, I'm a people pleaser. So I didn't want to do anything that would piss him off. But then I realized that if I keep waiting for his permission for certain things, or, you know, permission to launch a new business, permission to write my book, permission to put on a big event, whatever it was, if I kept waiting for permission from someone, I was never going to achieve anything. So I gave myself permission to do whatever the fuck I wanted to do. And obviously, you know, with advice and coaches and guidance, there's, you know, making more right decisions than wrong. But so many people I speak to have a product in them, a book they want to write, journeys they want to take, people they want to visit, you know, individuals and companies they want to connect with or work for. And they just don't do it. Because they feel they need someone to say, hey, it's okay, yep, that's a good idea, go for it. 70%, I did 1,400 of these turbo calls when I used to work for Ryan as a coach here. And between 60 and 70%, I've got the stats somewhere on my laptop. Genuine real stats, not made up stats that I pulled up out of my ass, were simply me listening to their idea and saying, yep, go for it.
It's okay.
In one form or another. Yeah. Or basically highlighting them the stupidity of why they hadn't done it to that point.
Wow.
And I just, you know, all the good things that have happened to me in the last 4-6 weeks have come about of me saying, okay, what's the worst that can happen? No, maybe get told to go away. Okay, I can live with that. And I just did it. I sent the email. I wrote the letter and put it in the post. I tweeted the right person. You know, I inboxed the correct people. I did the thing. I put it out on social media. I created the product. I had no idea the level of success it would bring me, but I just thought, fuck it. No one's going to tell me not to. And this is one of the things. If you are working, you know, for someone, if you're listening, and it's a little bit different. So I completely understand, you know, so there's certain things you do have to ask permission for. But if you're running your own business, you're self-employed, or you're looking to start up a side project or whatever it is, just fucking do it. So that's my final point in my little villain-based podcast.
All right.
So you don't need permission. What did you think of that, John? Bit different today.
Yeah, I enjoyed that quite a bit because I did enjoy Ben's book, and I like the different take that you brought to it. I want to be a villain now. I want to be more villain.
Villains are, to be honest with you, they generally have layers, and they have way better costumes.
Yeah, they got it going on, right? Cool. All right, so that is a wrap for another Death, Glory, or Disappointment. We will be back with you next time. Thank you for tuning in.
Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Death, Glory, or Disappointment with Dan Meredith. If you enjoyed the show and you want more, then your next step is to go to iTunes right now and subscribe. And while you're there, give us a rating and review. It'll help us out a bunch, plus it'll bring you good karma.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.